Welcome to Anybody Listening to Me podcast with Azar and the Meat. It's another exciting week that we're going to review episode 7. Not a lot of surprises revealed if you've been following this podcast, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to dive in a little bit into HBOMax and the Flight Attendant. Big Meat's going to share his thoughts on that one. And we're going to get our special third man in to talk about his man crush on his new TV show, The Young Rock. Him and Meat have been thoroughly enjoying the first 2 episodes of The Young Rock. And for the record, our third man is not a very professional sidekick, but he's in protest because we're going to start with WandaVision. And then we're going to wrap it up and talk a little fantasy as usual and dive into the Patriots and talk about those people that are potential cap casualties that might be announced in the next few weeks. And will they be potential assets that the Patriots might go after? So we're going to dive into that. Let me bring my co-host on. Big Meat, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Azar. I'm loving it here. I'm in a good mood. I just finished watching the second episode of Young Rock. I have a pretty good take on the show itself. I don't know if Jarvis is going to be very happy with what I'm about to say, but that's I'm going to hold that for that part of the segment. Of course, he's not going to like what either one of us are going to say about WandaVision or WonkaVision because he just couldn't care less. So I'm ready to get into it. And we have a new movie or a new show actually to announce. So I know we've been talking about WandaVision. WandaVision is just week after week, right? That's the only show we've been talking about. It's the only thing that's on TV. But we do have another show that both you and I have actually watched. So we can give a little brief review on that one as well.
Absolutely. All right, let's kick it off with WandaVision. It's obviously the pace of the show is picked up and it's got everybody hooked because we're now into the I think we're still in the 90s, right? Because I think they did
we're ahead of it because this last episode.
Oh yeah, it was Malcolm in the Middle, right?
Well, that was 2 episodes ago. This one was more like Modern Family and a little bit of The Office.
Oh, that's right, The Office.
Where they're talking to the camera and it's and the camera kind of zooms in when they say some kind of sarcastic remark.
Yes, that's right.
So yeah, we're in like the 2010 generation there, that era.
Okay. So it was a good episode, but not a big reveal because if you followed the show, I think the biggest reveal in the show, again, if you haven't watched the episode, fast forward at this point because there will be some spoilers, but I think the big part was it's interesting. We didn't see her brother in this episode. I don't recall seeing him at all until the very end. Yes. Right. That was like the last. Yes. They did like a Marvel. You have to watch the credits, and then they had like
mid-credit scene. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a little interesting, but it's funny that how the brother played an important role in the previous episode. She blasts him, and then he just kind of disappears, and the focus more was on Agnes, who turns out to be what we were talking about. Was the witch that we and I don't think that was a shocker for anybody that she turned out to be the witch. So if you listen to the podcast, sorry, we spoiled it for you a couple of weeks ago when we did talk that who we think this character is probably based off of. And the clue was, no surprise, when they were giving us the clues that she did it, they had that song going and she was in the witch's hat and stuff. And we're like, yeah, no kidding. Like, not a shocker.
That catchy tune that they play at the end of the episode there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for those who didn't know, right, there is a mid-credit scene. So if you watched last week's episode and you didn't stick around through the credits, not that scene offers much of anything, but it does lead. It's going to lead into the next episode. So you kind of have to watch that post-credit scene.
Yeah, I think it's a big part because now we have a new superhero that was created from passing through the force field or whatever Wanda created on that. I know Agnes turns out to be, she says she's pulling the strings, but there's obviously a bigger character because she still references her husband. So we're still waiting to see who the other villain is going to come.
Yeah, I wonder if that other, whether it's Mephisto or Nightmare, we talked about that, or if that's the character that's going to show up on this season. I think maybe that Agatha character is just she's the villain for this show, for this series. I'm thinking maybe the other major villains aren't going to appear, and maybe Mephisto is the next big villain for like this wave or this phase of Marvel movies, like Thanos was. like Thanos was kind of dragged along all those movies. Maybe Mephisto is for the next series, because the next Doctor Strange movie that Scarlet Witch is also in, they've already dubbed that as a horror movie. And you could see through WandaVision, it's a little bit of a horror type genre type movie. And that's where Marvel hasn't played into that yet. They've done like spy thrillers, they've done obviously science fiction, they've done like heist movies, but they haven't really done like a horror movie. And that's what the next Doctor Strange movie is going to be about. So I almost want to say this Mephisto character, or whoever it is at play, is going to be the main villain for these next several movies that come out.
But you don't think he's going to come out during this WandaVision?
Probably not. Probably there'll probably be some subtle hints, but they're not going to show him. I don't think he's going to reveal himself. I think he's just going to be kind of like in the background. Like, you don't really hear about him, kind of like Thanos was, right? He's out there, but you don't really see him all that much. I think Agatha is the main villain for this series. That's what I think.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. That'd be an interesting theory. I haven't read that. You, I mean, they did kind of put all the blame on her, so it looks like they tied it in. But I feel like the next 2 episodes have something, like they're going to reveal something big, because they need to leave it with a cliffhanger for the next season, like leave you wanting more. So I feel like something big is going to roll out that's going to leave it. You know, I
think that's where the cliffhanger will end with because of Doctor Strange, because I want to say, did they start filming that? I don't know if they started filming it or if they're about to start filming it, but it's going to come out within the next year and a half or so, whatever. I think this is what's going to lead into that movie. And why would they have the big villain appear here when he's going to be the main villain for that movie? That's what.
Well, I don't know if they'll appear, like he'll play a role in the movie, but I feel like, you know, like the scene with Thanos when the mid credits came and he grabs his glove and says, "I'll do this myself." I forget which movie it was in the middle of. Yeah. It was Civil War or Winter Soldier. One of them ones. He comes and grabs the glove and says, I'll do this myself." But I wonder if you'll see something like that, like something near the end.
Perhaps like a little quick scene. But I'm still convinced Doctor Strange appears at some point in the last 2 episodes.
You know, I watched Doctor Strange again because I haven't really watched it since. I think I've watched it. It's one of the few Marvel movies I've not really watched a lot of it. Like I know his character. I've kind of left it. It wasn't one of my favorite movies, but now because of WandaVision, I rewatched Doctor Strange, and I appreciate the movie so much more now. And I listen to more of like the background and the whole multiverse and the multi dimensions and all these villains that want to destroy Earth. And Doctor Strange really is the guardian that protects you from all of these forces to take out
all the multiple realities. And,
so it was an interesting. It's really good to watch it again now in the context of after watching WandaVision. But it'll be interesting to see how they finished the last 2 episodes. And the rumor is, and I was wrong because the first rumor was that it was supposed to be hour episodes. It wasn't an hour long. I think it was still this short episode.
But I should say that the next episode is close to an hour. They did announce it's the running time of 47 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that.
So the next episode is going to be a little bit longer. And it is amazing though. Azar, I mean, I know this is like the nerd segment of the podcast, and we nerd out a little bit on this, but it's really the only show that's going on right now. And I love all the Marvel movies. And this has actually been a pretty good show. But I do have to say, much of what we said last week, it's amazing. And I'm going to toot our own horn here, because people, when we had that podcast last week, people started discussing this on media outlets, social media, various articles. It's like they listen to our podcast and then they write a story on what we are saying. It's crazy when I see some of these things that I'm reading. I'm like, this is exactly what we just talked about. We just talked about this on the podcast.
Yeah.
And this guy just releases an article on exactly what we were saying.
Yeah. So
we're awesome is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. And awesome. I agree with you. And I've seen sports stuff, like we're already talking about it. And then I see stuff like the next day I'm listening to it on talk radio. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. We were just talking about the same thing, like on the podcast. So I think we're trying to stay ahead of the curve, like from what people are talking about. So you're getting fresh stuff, at least from us. And now that we do it weekly, it's just easier to give you more fresher takes on
That's true. That's true. Yeah, and I should say I know I've been talking about like the commercials. I want to make sure I throw that in there with WandaVision, um, and the hidden meaning behind some of the commercials. The last one was about Nexus.
Yeah.
If you remember, like the Nexus, like it was like a pharmaceutical commercial, and Nexus is basically kind of like the dimension where you could transfer from reality to reality. So that's going to be that's kind of what the next phase of the Marvel movies is going to be is being able to go from one dimension to the next dimension. So that was kind of like the whole play on that. So those
But isn't there
commercials definitely have a huge meaning behind them. If you're not, if you kind of read between the lines on some of them.
now I also the Nexus was a reference. I think yours is more probably spot on because of that the multiverse component of it. But the Nexus in the Age of Ultron, the Avengers Age of Ultron, Nexus is where Stark went to find Jarvis, where he was hidden. Like they went, remember he went to that like command center and he dug up. I forget. They called it the Nexus, and that's where he went to do a computer research to figure out Ultron. And he found Jarvis hidden in the computer
Oh, okay.
system.
It
That was
was
the
like,
Nexus. That was called the
oh, okay.
Nexus. So I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
if it
no,
has
I
something
didn't.
to tie with Ultron and Wanda because they're tied in together with all of that. So that and again, I think yours is probably more accurate. I read more on what you were saying, but someone did say, that was actually
Mm.
the place was called the Nexus that Tony Stark went to.
I think Nexus is basically the kind of the centerpiece to how they're going to introduce X-Men and other characters that they couldn't reveal before in Marvel. Because
Yeah.
they're all the multiverse, there's all the other universes, other timelines, other realities, and Nexus is kind of the gateway between those two, between all of that. So I think that's how they're going to introduce a lot of these characters. So
Yeah. And
that's
I
that
wonder
was a big reveal there in that
and
last
he,
episode.
and I wonder how much it goes back to Loki. We were talking about if he has that stone and he's able to, and you know how the theory behind that episode of his series is that he's violating the rules and he's going to be what did you describe it? I forget the term you used in it, but because there's like this police force that monitors people that jump dimensions that
Right. There's
you
like
can violate.
the time police. Yeah, I forget
Exactly.
exactly the name of them.
I
Yeah.
wonder if Loki, that's how he ties in and tears a fabric in this whole thing, and that's where things start bleeding into each other because of Loki's jumping or something. I wonder if that's going to
Yeah.
be how they tie stuff into. But it could all be from Doctor Strange too. Like he's
Right. So to wrap up my last couple of thoughts here, because I see Jarvis chomping at the bit here to jump in, and he's got absolutely nothing to offer on WonkaVision here. So I know I watched Agents of Shield, and they didn't really do a lot of tie-ins with the movies, but they did have the one book towards the end of this WandaVision episode that was kind of glowing right in the basement when
yes.
they went down there, and that's what they call the Darkhold in the Agents of Shield episode, and it's kind of like a book of spells, if you will, and that's kind of what helped introduce Ghost Rider. So I think Ghost Rider is going to come from like this book, and
Oh, please don't be
you
Nicolas
know,
Cage, Ghost Rider. Oh,
yeah,
don't say
there are
it.
2 movies with Nicolas Cage and the Ghost Rider, 2 of them. But they did have the Ghost Rider character in the Agents of Shield show, so it almost seemed like that's what the book was. My other thought was, and I forgot to mention it at last week's episode. Um, Remember the scene? There was a scene where Quicksilver said something like he referenced Kick-Ass,
Yes.
and
Yep.
then Wanda said something about Kick-Ass, right? I don't know if you ever watched the movie Kick-Ass. It was actually a pretty good movie. It was a movie where the Quicksilver character from the Avengers movie, he played the main character, but the actor that played Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, who's in WandaVision, also played in that movie as well. So it
I
was
heard
kind
that
of like
written.
it was a little reference to the Kick-Ass movie, which was kind of funny to have them throw that in there,
Oh,
because
that is interesting.
both those actors played in that movie.
Yeah, I did read that somewhere when Quicksilver first was introduced, and they were quoted. They analyzed every quote and everything he said. So on the final nerd point that I wanted to talk about that's exciting, there is a rumor that Jennifer Lawrence is traveling to Australia to record for Fantastic Four. and she might be the next Sue Storm in the next series.
Oh.
So that's actually an interesting grab if Marvel got Jennifer Lawrence. She hasn't been around forever, but she's a pretty good action figure from like Hunger Games and things like that. So I think she'll add. I don't know if she'll be as good as Jessica Alba was, but not a bad replacement for Sue Storm. I didn't like the Sue Storm in the last Fantastic Four. I didn't think she did a great job in that character. She was kind of that. She was very blah, like just a very forgettable character. Where
you know who she is, right? She's the daughter of the owner for the New York Giants.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's the New York Giants owner's daughter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I can remember her name. Yeah.
Well, she can't act, so it doesn't really.
So she doesn't need to act. She doesn't need to be in any movie. She's good.
Yeah. Well, if she's doing someone a favor,
well
if he's to make her father happy, yeah, not the best casting. Like I did, that again, most of the casting there that wasn't really that good for that movie. It was kind of forgettable.
Yeah, it was.
All right, let's move on real quick because I don't want. Let's get our third man in before we talk about the flight attendant because I know he's dying to. His chubby cheeks are ready to start. He can't hold back his face is in our camera. Oh, so frustrating. Young Rock.
I haven't said one word, and I'm all you're flustered. What is this? Your listeners are frustrated because they're like, we don't understand why our host can't talk.
So people aren't aware of this. So when we do these podcasts, when we actually are doing it on live on video, right? So we can see each other's faces, and it can be a little distracting sometimes. So we see Tomato Face through the screen there, and that can get a little distracting. Azar is sitting there right in his house, and we see sometimes his cat walk by the screen, and we see his kids. I saw my daughter was in the background earlier. So hey, you know what? We're professionals. We're professional podcasters that we could get through this. But sometimes, hey, we get a little flustered.
Well, flustered. He takes himself off the camera, and he's just sending like these vulgar words at us. Yeah. Scrolling through, like it's just constantly scrolling as we're talking about WandaVision. He's having a tantrum because he doesn't like us talking about it.
He has changed his name from Middle Finger to WonkaVision now to Nicolas Cage just to piss you off, Azar.
Don't forget, I had Twat Waffle and Douche Canoe up there for a minute.
Oh, I didn't see those. I missed those.
Yeah. You didn't see those?
No, I didn't see Twat Waffle.
Yeah, at one moment it was Sykes. He had Sykes up there. He had all. Oh, he's such a pain. But all right, why don't you guys go off and talk about your man crush, The Rock, the guy that's in like everything now.
He's the best. I don't even care. He's the best. This episode 2. So I would rather comment on episode 1, and episode 2 is kind of meh. It's just making a story out of it. But episode 1 hooked me. I'm in.
Why?
So, all right, so here we go.
Well, I want to hear what Rock is. Hyped up what his negative poo-poo attitude was going to be because it doesn't have anything to do with Marvel. I'm just going to go play with my cat.
Listen,
there's the cat.
I know how much. There it is. There's the cat. Yeah. So I know how much you love The Rock, Jarvis. I love The Rock too.
I'll take it.
Right, I love it too. But I gotta say, this show not that great. That's my take on it. It's not that great. The best scenes is when they have actors playing old wrestlers.
Yes,
like
I agree, 100%.
Macho Man's going to appear at some point. Junkyard Dog.
100% why I'm watching the show.
They're like the best characters. And the part with the guy that plays Jimmy Woo in WonkaVision, you won't know this, Jarvis, because you don't watch the show. But he's the guy that's interviewing The Rock throughout this. God, it's so boring. That part is so boring. Like they just cut that.
That's the reason they're telling the story.
I get it, but The Rock is just he's not as it's not as funny. It's not as entertaining as I thought it was going to be. And then the show they have the flashbacks, and it's like okay, it's just kind of like just chugging along. And it's
only been 1 hour on. Like it's literally been on for an hour.
True, but if you're gonna launch a show,
you've gone through 4 episodes of Wanda Sykes saying that in The Witcher, you sat through a season of The Witcher. At least this is the characters.
Listen, I'd rather watch 18 episodes of Young Rock than go back and watch The Witcher.
Oh, you're such a liar. He'll be watching Witcher season 2. Look at first of all,
I thought you were going to stay out of this.
Anybody thought The Rock was going to come out with this compelling comedy series. Are you kidding me?
We lost you guys.
Good.
I just see frozen faces of Jarvis and Azar.
It's you.
You're frozen. We
you're
hear
frozen,
you goofball.
Big dope.
Listen, while I have you frozen, I'm going to get my 2 cents in.
Yes.
I don't
He's
really.
gone. He's really gone.
He is good. So listen, when you watch the first episode, you were like, all right, what's this going to be? And it's this Van Rock is running for president in 2032. Yeah, great. Maybe this is going to spill into like a presidential campaign in real life, which would be even more awesome. But like, let's go with that. The Rock is sitting down with this Jimmy Woo character, and he's satirically asking questions that are like, well, so why, he's like, why do the people not understand you or whatever? And he's like, well, here's how I learned how to kick ass. And like, the questions are ridiculous. It's like it's not real as it affects the show. It's just the vehicle in which he can tell the story of his past. So don't put any stock into like that interview. And like the Jimmy Woo guy cries, like it's stupid. So it's comical. What is the best though is when you're watching the flashbacks and all of a sudden like the door bursts open and it's Andre the Giant. You're like, oh shit, I didn't expect that. Guy turns around, he's like, I made margaritas. Azar, you'd like it. It's the Iron Sheik. He says it in some camel accent, right? You'd get along with that character. Great. And then you turn around like the Junkyard Dog's over here, and
it's not a racist podcast. Anybody listening?
The Wild Samoans. The Wild Samoans, and you're like, oh shit, all right. I can this is 80s WWF at its finest. You're like, I can get into that. And then it goes off and like talks about The Rock going to the University of Miami, and like, so like it does give you a little bit of, and like that story's not the most compelling. I am purely entertained because Andre the Giant appeared back on my screen for the first time since 1993 when he died. Like it's purely nostalgic. There is
and that guy that plays him's pretty good too. I like he does a good job.
So good.
Like even with his voice and everything.
You make fun of WonkaVision. Right?
Yeah. Does that play on your like what childhood? What kid from the 80s was like, I can't wait to get my Wanda action figure? Nobody.
Yeah, there's nothing to do with that.
Nobody said that.
I guarantee you, no one is writing an article about the young Rock and trying to figure out the mystery behind young Rock.
It doesn't matter because I remember Hulk Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3, and when I saw Andre the Giant on my TV for the first time since the 80s, I was all in. Didn't matter. That's
the only part of the show that's good.
But what else do you
really
need?
Is.
It's 30 minutes on a Tuesday night.
Comedy. I want a little bit more. I want the Rock's personality to come out.
I say give it time. It has not. It's been 2 episodes at a half hour a clip. And we've just said all of this. We've talked as long as the seasons have been.
So his highlight is that you might see some nostalgic ex-wrestlers, or you could just YouTube videos of these nostalgic wrestlers.
That's no fun. That's no fun. Because that's predictable.
So I love the Macho Man, right? The Macho Man was one of my favorite characters. He hasn't been on the show yet, but I've seen him on the trailer, and he's coming too. So I agree. I think when I see Andre the Giant and Macho Man and like 2 of my favorite wrestling characters of all time.
I want to see how they portray him. And the guy that plays his father.
That's the only thing drawing me in right now because that whole thing with The Rock is just.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a half hour on a Tuesday night. There's nothing but you would have to like. I want to watch Andre versus Hogan. Like I don't want to do that and already know that I saw. It's just a little tiny glimmer of that. Sure. Who's coming through the curtain next? Like you just don't know who could pop up in an episode. And I don't give a shit about the storyline about The Rock chasing some Karen calling himself Tomasi or whatever. Like, I don't care about that. That's horse garbage. When he gets into the University of Miami, maybe because he was at like the U at like the height of like camouflage U when it was like Michael Irvin and they were ghetto. Maybe a story's going to come out that'll be interesting in one little episode, but other than that, just show me wrestlers. Just show me the oldies.
I agree.
And I'm in.
If they just filled me too, I'm with you, Jarvis. There. So if they just did that on every episode, I'd like it. Even this episode, right? They even had the wrestling matches with Ric Flair and Roddy Piper. Even though like they didn't have any speaking, like they didn't have any speaking parts, or it just
didn't matter.
I actually enjoyed that. I like that part. So just
100%
do more of that, and I'm hooked.
Yep, I'm in.
And The Witcher is being released on August 17th. If you guys want to watch it.
They actually made another season of that.
They did make another season. It was very popular.
I can tell you one thing. COVID allowed to be filmed.
Young Rock will not be renewing for a second season after this.
You haven't even watched it. You don't even know.
Your
Get out of
description.
town.
You're not selling it. You're not selling it very well.
What do you mean we're not selling it?
If they renewed a second season of The Witcher, they're definitely renewing a second season of Young Rock.
Now I know there's only one person that actually cared about this show that likes wrestling like you guys, but we don't have a nickname for him.
If
So
we
I don't know-
we have to come up with a new nickname for him.
Yeah, we got to need a
That's
nickname
true.
for him but there's only one jackass that actually cares about that wrestling as much as you guys do.
He loves it. He loves it way more than we do.
And I gotta say, like everybody else just yawns, and then like there's a peppering from him for at least 40. There was at one point I picked up my phone. It was 170 texts, and I started going backwards, and it must have been him for like 80 of them, just talking about wrestling points, right? And then he throws in a photo, and then I'm like, I'm trying to get through the photos, and then it's just he's such a pain with his texting.
We do have to come up with a nickname for him. Maybe that's our homework for the week. Next week's episode, we will reveal.
Yeah.
He knows. Hey, you know what? I don't know if he listens to our podcast or not, but he will.
He does now. He just started.
Yeah, he does.
Okay,
listen.
good. Maybe he can recommend his own nickname.
Yeah, you know what? We need R3 to give him a nickname, something like angry.
Yeah.
Or when he's like frustrated with him or something.
All right. Speaking of nicknames, I do want to say announce too that Mr. Roper, Mr. Roper has officially finished all the Indiana Jones movies.
That's right. That's right.
Now
it's a kudos.
Yeah, you know what? I'm proud of him. Our little Mr. Roper is growing up. He's finally watched all the Indiana Jones movies, and we can't shit on him anymore. So good for him. And he did enjoy him, from what I hear. He did enjoy the movie. So
proud of him. That seems such like a strong word.
I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him. You know what?
No,
Roper and pride.
Strong word. Go root for Mahomes. All right. He deserves kudos for finally joining.
He does.
Civilization.
He pulled the trigger.
Those movies came out in the 80s. You think in his youth he would have watched those?
Not
movies.
his fault. He had shitty upbringing. Okay.
Exactly. No, I'm with you. So I there's been, I could see in the 80s, right? He doesn't watch them, but it's hard to go back and watch a movie that came out 40 years ago.
Are you kidding me?
As good as it is, it's hard to
I watched Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon as soon as it dropped on Netflix. I was watching that movie, and that's from the 70s. It's like, who doesn't go back and watch some of the classics?
You know what movie I actually watched recently was Bloodsport.
So good. So good.
And I'm trying to, and I didn't watch it for so long until it was on, and I was like, I gotta watch this movie, and I was like, oh, the acting is so bad in it, but
it's so good.
It's so bad.
It's
so bad. It's so good.
It's a guilty It's like that movie. HBOMax is rebooting Mortal Kombat. Now, if you watch the original Mortal Kombat, they're not great movies, but if you love the game, you love the movies. Like, it's just something that hooked you in. I'm actually looking forward to the reboot on HBOMax when they drop it. So it's one of those guilty pleasures that Jarvis was talking about the other time. Like, what are our guilty pleasures that on one of our text threads that, some of those corny 70s, 80s movies, you got to go back. I was watching Lethal Weapon 4 the other day. I love the Lethal Weapon series.
Lethal Weapon 4 was the one with Chris Rock? Chris Rock,
yeah. Where it was basically his comedy skit through the whole thing.
Pretty much the best Lethal Weapon ever with Danny DeVito, Joe Pesci. Chris Rock. So, listen, the first Lethal Weapon was good, but it was more like the Die Hard style movie where it was more serious. When they got to Lethal Weapon 4, I've never laughed so hard in my life. That movie was top to bottom one of the best. It outdid the original, the sequel, the trilogy. That was one where 4 was better than 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Who was the martial arts Asian guy there?
Jet Li.
Jackie Chan.
Jet Li. Catapulted his career.
Yeah. And actually, that's why I stopped, because it was a scene when I was flipping to the channel. It was him in the scene, and I was like, I remember how quick he was. He was ridiculous. And then you look at his career. Then he's doing the Expendables with Sylvester Stallone. Now he's like a classic 80s, 90s superhero character.
Jean-Claude?
No, Jet Li.
Oh, is he? I never saw
he's in the Expendables.
You never watched the Expendables?
I didn't understand what it was supposed to be for a long time until I saw a trailer, and I was like, wait, all these guys are in it? This is actually interesting.
If you like the wrestling thing.
If you like a lot of death and destruction and 80s nostalgia, that's
You got
Yeah.
guns, a
It's
lot
like-
of guns,
Yeah.
and mindless plot. Then that's
Love it. I was right up
those
my
are the
alley.
movies. Yeah.
Right up my alley. Do you know one of
Yeah.
the best comedies with a mindless plot? You ever see The Pest with John Leguizamo? Do you want to waste brain cells? Watch The Pest with John Leguizamo. You have to be dumb to laugh, but it's hysterical if you can
Never
connect.
heard of it.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'm saying it's a treasure. It's a
Oh.
hidden treasure. If we're throwing out random things that have no, plot line or anything like that, throw that on the list. The Pest with John Leguizamo. That rocked in the 90s.
This is why he's not on every podcast every week.
He's dropping the Pest.
Pest.
I thought we were pulling out random
Oh,
things from
man.
the whatever. Come
Jeez.
on.
Oh
Go
man!
watch The Witcher.
First, he tells me The Weekend. He goes crazy listening to The Weekend when I say something bad, derogatory about The Weekend. He goes ape shit. Now we're talking about guilty pleasures. You say Bloodsport. I say Enter the Dragon. He goes
The
Pest.
We say the Expendable. Like there's like a
That's not
trilogy
it.
of the Expendables, like great action movies.
We're
And he's-
saying,
throws up the
like
Pest.
masculine men movies. He goes
Yeah,
The
The
Pest
Pest.
with John.
I never even heard of it.
It's so good. By the way, Bloodsport is a top 10
No,
movie
you
of all
can't
time.
redeem yourself now.
I was agreeing with him.
You don't go back to Bloodsport. You can't go back to Bloodsport.
I
now.
would listen, I'll die on The Pest wall. You watch it, you're gonna laugh and be like, this is the dumbest but funny. You'll laugh if you can get down to a dumb funny movie level and you don't like criticize things like Azar criticizing The Rock. Just it's dumb and it's
I
funny.
mean, like Jarvis criticizing WandaVision because he doesn't want to pay for Disney Plus.
Listen, I criticized the name. I couldn't get past the name. Wanda.
All
Sykes.
right.
Get
All right,
out of here.
We got one more
So-
show to do before we get into
Jarvis
football,
did actually criticize one movie that actually was pretty good because he doesn't want to watch it because of the name, and I remember him telling us it was John Wick. He doesn't want to watch
nope.
John Wick because
I
of the
won't
name.
do it.
You
Dumbest
can't
name
judge
ever.
a book by its cover, Jarvis. You gotta
Yeah,
go for it. You gotta
listen,
watch his movies. These are
I'll
good
take my
movies.
licks. I understand that. There was a colleague of mine swears by the John Wick movies. She just watches them every time. Like I watch Indiana Jones, and I'm like, I don't get the passion. The name,
just mindless-
I can
mindless
get behind the name. I named my Roomba Indiana Jones, so now I get to say into my phone, Indiana Jones vacuum my house, and it happens. Like that's the type of level I connect with. I can't do John Wick vacuum my like. What the hell is that? It sounds like I'm walking into like fix my candle, like fix the wick. I don't know. I just can't get over it.
He likes
Good
names
movie.
like
They're good
he likes
movies.
names
All
like
of them.
The Pest.
I've heard they're fantastic. The Pest it caught me off guard in like 1994 when it came out, and I laughed. That's all I'm saying.
So sad. All right, Meat. Let's go. We gotta go. Just touch on that show that we watched on HBO Max. It's just
I'm gonna go
recommended.
take
If
a
you're looking
piss.
for,
Flight
there's not a lot of
attendant.
new content out. That's coming. Look at now. He's gonna go off and he's have his little tantrum. He's gonna go on his potty break.
Sorry.
So
This is the segment where we get a shit on him, and he can't retort.
yeah, but real quick. So you got to binge watch it. My wife and I were just watching that series. We didn't binge it. We just kind of watched it. We started it, came back a few days later because we're trying to just space things out because there's just not a lot of things to watch. So we just pick a day. We'll watch a couple episodes. But so the Flight Attendant came out a few months ago. I think it came out near the end of the year of last year, right?
Yeah.
Because I hear people talking about it and people liked it. And if you're not familiar with it, it's basically stars Kaley Cuoco. I don't. How do you pronounce her last name?
I say Kyoko. That's how I say
Kyoko,
it.
whatever. She's from The Big Bang Theory that most people know her from. She also was in Charmed. She's basically the tall. She's the tall blonde, I guess you would call her, compared to everybody else on the show. So if you watch Big Bang Theory, and it's kind of interesting because they took her character from Big Bang Theory. And it's almost like she's like 20 years older, and then now she's a flight attendant, and she's got that same partying. I thought she brought some of that character into the movie. Like I just saw some of that in some of the scenes when she was partying. I was like, oh, this feels like just an extension of her character from Big Bang. So I actually kind of was interesting, but it was actually a really good show. It got me hooked. Like we watched the first couple episodes and paused, but once we started watching the rest of the series, like it took off, and like we started binging. Like, all right, now we're watching like 3 episodes a night instead of like just 1 or 2 or something like that. So,
Yeah.
I don't know how you felt about it, but it was a good show. I was surprised.
Yeah, it was decent. It was decent. I wouldn't go back and say it was a great show. It's not on the same level of WandaVision or Cobra Kai or The Boys like that we talked about, but it's a decent show. If it's a show that there's not a lot going on right now. There's not a lot of streaming shows, and that is one show. If you have HBO Max, that is something that you'd want to watch.
3/4 of the listeners don't have HBO Max.
But it's a type of show that it's not traditional what we watch. It's more of a traditional drama than like a science fiction thriller or things that we watch typically.
Yeah, but it is if you like the murder mystery whodunit like type shows, that's a show for you. If you like those kind of shows, it keeps you guessing.
But it was not as intense. I didn't find it as intense like some shows on like broadcast TV. It wasn't like dark. I mean, there was some parts that were dark, but it was light. There was some funny scenes. Yeah. Like I thought
they dragged it out a little bit. But you know what? It's Azar. It's your girl in there, Kaley Cuoco. You know, she was great in it. I think she was like the star. I think her lawyer friend that she played, like she was pretty funny in it. She had like that kind of dry, sarcastic humor.
How many episodes have you watched?
There's 8 episodes to the series, I think.
The whole
9?
season. Yeah, might have been 8. Yeah, 8 or 9. Yeah, and it was like 45 minutes long each.
It's actually a good show, Jarvis, if you watch it with the wife. Like if you got it.
So in an episode, in one episode and maybe a half, you've seen over an hour of. In 2 episodes, you've seen over an hour of this in your passing judgment, but yet you've only seen an hour of The Rock, and you're willing to write it off altogether. This is not fair.
Wait a minute. No.
Jarvis, let it go. The Rock.
No. Because
that's not a good show.
Because once you watch an hour, like the pace of it, you kind of you get a sense of what the show is about. You said when you watch the first hour of The Flight Attendant, you know what the show's about. It's the same pace the rest of the season.
It's not a bad show. The Young Rock, the first half hour was fantastic, and the second half hour was more like, man, this is a TV show on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's network TV though. I mean, HBO Max. It's a little bit because it's HBO Max. It's got like some of the adult like swearing. It's more of an adult show. So I don't watch a lot of network TV because I find a lot of the network TV just kind of bland. There's one show that I did like called Evil. It was dark, but it wasn't vulgar or anything. It didn't have anything that was inappropriate. This gave you like her character. She's basically a slut in the thing. She was just hammered the whole time.
Yeah,
she was an alcoholic.
You should have led with that. If you led with that, I would have changed my whole.
Okay, so
she's a good actress. She's a better actress than I gave her credit for.
You're losing my interest with that.
Yeah, no, but
Azar had me on the sales pitch.
No, but you'd be impressed. She's a lot deeper as a character than you thought she was, or deeper as an actress than you thought she was, because she seems so one-dimensional on The Big Bang Theory. She's just like this pretty.
She does
blonde.
play a similar character. She does like it's almost like a similar, like
it wasn't a stretch,
a more drunken character on this series than she was on The Big Bang Theory.
But you know, it's funny because she reminded us of a personal like that constant drinking and always needing to party. Like she was just drunk the whole time. Like I was like, oh my God. And she pulled it off.
Reminds us of some people.
Yeah, some people that we know. But it was funny that how good she played it off. You really thought like she played it off like she was really like drunk in the movie. So it was a good show.
I play off like I'm drunk all the time.
Look at this, Jarvis. Instead of
I bet you it's a much better show than The Pest. That's what I'm going to just throw it out.
The Pest is not a show, so that's not a fair comparison.
I'd rather watch a whole season of The Flight Attendant. You know, well, I've never seen The Pest, so I can't really talk. So
you can't talk.
I can't.
If you want, like, if you have like a Sunday morning where you're like, God, this COVID sucks. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. You just need to watch something that is worse than reality. Like watch The Pest, because you'll laugh if you can just let yourself laugh. It's dumb comedy.
Okay.
And it's not good. It's not a good movie. It's a funny movie. It's stupid comedy.
All right. Well, we'll put it on the radar.
It's along the lines of like Ace Ventura type thing, where it's like, you know, and running all around.
I love
like
Ace Ventura. Okay.
Right. So Jim Carrey is a genius comedian. I want to preface, I'm not comparing the two. I am saying that it's a lot of that like mannerism-y comedy and whatnot. It's
wacky slapstick comedy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, he's getting hunted the entire movie. He's like some rich guy's trying to hunt him, and it's pretty funny.
episode. He's still talking about the freaking Pest.
Well, I had a preface so
He
that like
finds a way.
R3 didn't come ripping off with like,
He's trying to.
you said it should have won an Oscar. No, I didn't say that shit.
All right.
Come on.
Azar, he's trying to justify the Pest like you're trying to justify The Witcher. Like you both, it's like kind of the same.
I
thing
told you guys, I did. The Witcher was just perplexed. Like it wasn't good, but you just kind of wanted to see where it went. Like it kind of sucked you in. Like everybody that I talked to
in an hour, the Pest is out of your life.
How are we talking about The Witcher? See, Jarvis. Anytime Jarvis is on a podcast, we go back in time and revisit things. So are we going to talk about?
This is why we didn't invite him to last week's podcast.
Thank God we didn't watch. If he watched Game of Thrones, we'd still be talking about the freaking season ending with him. He'd keep going back.
He's got to. Yeah, he's never going to watch the Game of Thrones. It's over.
And that's as bad.
He's not going to watch it.
And that is as bad. That was like a cult classic. That is as bad as Mr. Roper not watching.
That's
Indiana
not true.
Jones. That is
if Game of Thrones. No, it's not. If Game of Thrones was a movie, I could watch it and be like, okay, like Lord of the Rings. I watched it. Man, I didn't love it, but like. If Game of Thrones was a movie and I could get it out of my life,
it's kind of like a movie, though. It's the special. I know, but it's. But listen,
15 hours of my life.
The fact that you're defending Young Rock over
no, I'm defending
Game of
the
Thrones.
Nostalgia of Young. There's no connection to the Game of Thrones. Like I could give a shit of what happens in the next Harry Potter movie because I didn't see the last 5. Like whatever. I don't care about that shit. Like it's entertaining and everything's.
Poor kid.
I went on the ride at Universal. Do you know what's great? Better than the movies? Go on the ride at Harry Potter at Universal. It's fantastic.
I've been on it.
It's unbelievable. I don't need to see the movie to appreciate it.
I have a pretty funny story behind it.
You know what? I don't need to see the 5 freaking movies after the first one because I just didn't matter.
No, you know what you need to see? You need to see a big meat wearing spandex so we can get onto the ride. Because his thighs are too big.
They really wouldn't let me on the ride, so I said, "You know what? I'm determined to come back the next day."
You wore Spanx to get on a fucking
No,
ride?
I wore no underwear. I put no underwear just to get on.
He made sure there was like no cargo shorts. It was like this tightest pants.
He's the only guy I know that his balls get smaller when he unrestricts them. What the fuck?
But I was on the ride. They let me on the ride.
Jarvis, remember those gray shorts that he wears when he golfs that are a little bit too much for doesn't leave much for the imagination? That's what he had to put on. That's what he had to put on for the get on the ride.
Leaves little to the imagination.
You got on the ride and you were literally one cotton thread thickness too big. You had to take your underwear.
If they let me on the ride naked, I would have went on it.
He had to do the walk of shame. They made him get off the ride while everybody waited. And the best part,
you couldn't like tuck a thigh in or something.
I tried. It was just, you know what? That seatbelt bar just wouldn't go down and wouldn't lock in.
I think the worst part is I think my son had to get off the ride because he was supposed to ride with him.
He did. He was sitting next to him.
And he had to get off too because he had no one to go with because it was like a kind of an intense ride. So he had to get off. So my son missed out. So he gets off the ride. I'll leave it on this note. He gets off the ride. He goes, I got to lose some weight. Comes back with a dessert. I forgot what he got. He's eating something chocolate and he's walking around. I'm like, what happened to you need to like lose weight? He's like, yeah, I don't care.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. If I wore like you know, thin shorts, no underwear, get on the ride, get fit on that seat. I did it. I went on the ride. It was worth
$250 in admission tickets later. To go back the next day half naked.
The best was the walk of shame. He had to get off the ride while we're all watching.
It was. And the thing is, everybody came off the ride afterward. They're like, wow, that was like the best ride I've ever been on. I said, oh, thanks. I said, and everyone, all of them, if the whole family, everybody, they're like, oh yeah, that was great. That was probably the best ride.
His daughters,
in the entire state of Florida.
Everybody went on the ride except him.
I said, "Oh yeah, keep rubbing." And then I think they went on it again. They went back in line. They went on it again while I waited for them. Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't like sweat off a couple of pounds and get on.
No, well, I waited. I waited till the next day, and I went on.
You should have saw this poor kid. He was trying to squeeze John into the bar, like he was helping him. Like, he couldn't. Like they tried, they just couldn't do it. He was asking a lot. So, folks, if you go on the Hogwarts ride. Just it's not the Hogwarts, it's the Hagrid ride. It's called the Hagrid ride.
It was the new Hagrid. I forget what the official
motorcycle ride. Yeah.
It's a good ride. It's
I didn't go on that one. I went on the Hogwarts one where you go through the castle and you get in like that.
I've been through that. I've been on that a bunch of times.
The motorcycle ride is much more intense.
Is great.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's actually awesome.
No fatties allowed.
On that note, we'll move forward now. That was a good reliving some history back on one of our family vacations we've done together. All right, let's get into Patriots football. Before
crash course change.
Yeah, we're gonna go into sports just because for time. So, I gotta say, have you guys listened to the interview Cam Newton did? I think he did it with Keyshawn Johnson.
Oh, the podcast.
The podcast. Yes.
Brandon Marshall and Fred Taylor.
That's right. It wasn't Keyshawn.
Orthopedic shoes. Fred Taylor.
And after that podcast, I guess Cam Newton was making the case of why he felt he didn't live up to his
second chance.
Yeah, and I saw so many people like these, like making the case, like local writers, talk shows, all of a sudden trying to justify bringing Cam Newton back. Are they out of their mind? Like
Who did you hear
that? Some guys off WEI. There was some article from I think Ryan Hannibal wrote an article on.
I watch a lot of Boston sports tonight, and they were talking about it as well. And DJ Bean is an idiot. I don't know if you guys listen to him a lot. His takes are just terrible. Like he should just stick to hockey. Because he knows hockey. He just doesn't know anything else, and his takes are terrible. So I did watch that same thing, and it was like Cam Newton talking about how the play calling, the playbook was a little confusing to him, and then he ended up having COVID, and he came back, and he was a little bit lost in the system, and he's so used to just going out there and just reacting and just using his skill set and his talent and his athleticism to get through a game, and that's just not the Patriot system, and he struggled with that, and that to me it's like that's scary.
Yeah, but it's also we watched Cam Newton try to do that. He fumbled on the 2-yard line and lost to Buffalo. He was atrocious in just about every other game around there since that Seattle game. We saw his athleticism. It didn't win us anything. We saw him spend time with the playbook. The Seattle game was the only good game of the year, and that was week 2. So that was when he knew nothing, and he had a good game. So clearly it was an anomaly, and I don't want to hear nothing about he got more better understanding of the system as the year went on. He got worse as the year went on. So the more he was exposed, the worse he got. There is nothing that I want New England to do with Cam Newton. I wish the guy the best of luck, right? Because I actually was impressed with how he carried himself. But the Redskins or the Washington football team or who else is going to be without a quarterback? There's the only team I think of that needs one that isn't going to have a really good draft pick. Somebody else's problem. Let him go redo his career somewhere else. There's so many better options that I think we can afford given the Carson Wentz trade price that set the market. I think that there's better value out there than throwing a bucket of can of paint, Cam Newton.
Well, that's a perfect segue. So I just wanted to touch on that because I think it's a good segue to kind of build on what you're saying. It's a good segue. So I'm going to give the guy the credit. His name is Mike DeSalt. He's a Patriots.com writer, and he wrote up a nice list of 10 potential NFL cap casualties that could help Patriots. So if anybody's interested, just go to the Patriots.com site. It's one of their writers wrote this article. It's up there now, so it's nothing dated or anything like that. But it's interesting because he felt these two. He gave a couple quarterbacks that he felt were potential cap casualties. Jimmy Garoppolo, whose name keeps getting thrown out constantly still as someone that the Patriots should go after. Now, I always thought they wanted to trade for him. Do they? But he's saying the case that there's a potential that he might get cut.
It's new, a new development that because they owe him nothing this year, that if they were in play for another quarterback that either was healthy or whatever, that they could trade for another quarterback and cut Garoppolo and be free of him without a lot of debt. So they're either going to renegotiate with him to where, so his money's not guaranteed. That's the big thing, right? So if Garoppolo stays in San Francisco, it's in his best interest to renegotiate for more guaranteed money, but the 49ers are going to say, well, if you want more guaranteed money, we need guarantees that you're going to be on the field. So they're in this position where they're going to pay him $25 million, but if he gets injured, they owe him nothing before the season. So if they cut him, they're off the hook for his whole contract.
Okay.
If they trade him, he's a great value because he's got a deal that's not guaranteed until a certain date. And I think the date is like later. It's either just before or just after the draft. It's guaranteed later. And if he's on somebody's team, then it becomes guaranteed unless he renegotiates and works in the whole injury, has to play a certain number of games, incentives, things like that. So that's where this grumbling to the Patriots is, because the ask for Wentz was a second and a third. And GMs around the league had said that actually could be an overpay considering how bad Wentz was this year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But the Colts went out and got him a second. I would give up a second and a third for Garoppolo.
Okay.
If that's the ask. And actually, I heard, and again, the one thing I heard on this did come from, that afternoon show, which shall not be named because I can't say anything without getting associated with it, is the problem.
There's no secret there. There's no secret.
Yeah, right. So it's like, well, what the fuck?
And the other one he brought up was Marcus Mariota is a potential cap casualty.
Yeah, those were the two. And again, I two or three podcasts ago, I was pushing Mariota.
You were. So
to finish the Garoppolo thought, though, it was that the interest in the Patriots was that the sentiment in the league, and again, I said I heard this on that afternoon show, is that Garoppolo is worth less than Wentz in trade value. So Garoppolo could be had for less than what Wentz was had. That's the sentiment. If that's the case, if it's a third and a fourth, or if it's a fifth and a second, whatever the crazy things the draft board value breakdown is, I'm all over that trade. Garoppolo in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So
digress.
So I agree with you. I mean, that makes sense. Garoppolo is not going to be worth as much as Wentz is. Wentz was a number 2 overall pick. Had a lot of success before his big injury with Philadelphia. What has Garoppolo really done? Not a whole heck of a lot. There's like little glimpses here and there. But we've talked about this in previous podcasts, is who you would be excited for the Patriots to get. I actually wouldn't mind Garoppolo to come back. Of all the guys that are available, granted, minus Watson, Rodgers, all the superstars, if you're going to take those middle of the road type quarterbacks, I don't want Marcus Mariota. I don't want Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't want any of those guys. Garoppolo would be a guy that would be intriguing because he was in the Patriot system. He was Belichick's guy. Belichick was pretty high on him. I think we've seen glimpses of Garoppolo being successful if he could stay healthy. I think he would succeed in the Patriot system. I just don't think a lot of the other guys, and Lou Merlone said this is through Boston Sports Tonight, and I completely agree with what Lou Merlone was saying. What do we do? Like we're always talking about the next quarterback for the Patriots. We're throwing out names like Mariota. We're throwing out names like Jacoby Brissett. I know he was with the Patriots system as well. These guys are not good quarterbacks. Like, it's just another Cam Newton. It's by the end of the year, we're going to be like, what the hell were we thinking? Why are we bringing these guys in?
Well, I think
Garoppolo, I think Garoppolo is intriguing. It could work. It might not work. I'm not that convinced of it. I almost would rather have them draft a quarterback in the draft, start young, start with something that's a little bit unknown, and then go from there.
Yeah, but you can't.
If you can't bring in Watson, if you can't make a trade for Aaron Rodgers, if you can't bring in somebody like that, then I'm not interested in any of this garbage, this middle of the road garbage that they're trying to bring in.
But I still go back. I think Derek Carr would be a better fit than any of those guys. I think.
Yeah, but he's going to cost more.
I think better than Garoppolo. I think so. I mean, Derek Carr has stayed much more healthier. Garoppolo may not even last a whole season.
He's going to cost more money than.
Yeah, but they have the money. The money isn't the issue. I mean, we could.
No. I'm sorry, not more money. The contract, Garoppolo, I think makes more. He's going to cost more capital, and the Patriots can't afford to give.
I think the money is going to be an issue with Belichick, but Belichick's not going to. He is not going to bring in a guy to play quarterback to pay him a lot of money. In
No.
fact, I've
Unless
read
it's
it actually
Garoppolo.
recently.
Unless it's Garoppolo.
I think Belichick, what he's going to do is he's going to try to build up the defense. He's going to rely on the running game. I think Damian Harris is going to be relied on heavily.
Yeah. So to your point,
and they need a good,
saying,
smart system quarterback. That's what they're going to bring in.
Point, that's why. So to your Lou Maloney point, like, what are you going to do? You're going to get Cam Newton 2.0. Well, no, you're not. You're going to get someone that can hold the ship steady while you build the defense and draft capital, while you build the offensive pieces and draft capital, and you're not then also having to groom a rookie. You're drafting, Trey Lance or Mac Jones. You're drafting somebody this year that you can allow them to kind of get their feet underneath them, throw somebody else to the fodder that's not Cam Newton. And if they're good and you make the playoffs, it's only more exposure that the new rookie will have, so that hopefully the ideal situation is Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre for 2 years. Year 3 came out and was an unbelievable quarterback ever since.
Yeah, but how rare is that? I mean, even Steve Young after Joe Montana, it took until Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, that combination of sitting with.
That's how many.
What other combination where a guy came out after a superstar was a superstar right after him? There is not that many.
But it's the same for drafting somebody that is an established star right out of the chute as a rookie.
I've brought this name up before. I actually wouldn't mind if they went after Mac Jones in their first round.
You got quite a crush on him.
I like Mac Jones. You know what though?
So what I think though, can you trade down for him? Because now all the talk about trading down. Can you trade down and get him?
Why do they have to trade down?
Because I think his value goes up the lower you get him. And if you can take your first round pick at 15 and trade it for a lower first and a second or a third and still get Mac Jones, I think that's the smart play. You have to try. At 15, you're not getting anything. You're just getting the guy that's
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. So I think I'm trying to put my Bill Belichick brain inside my head and the way he thinks, right? So everything I've read about Mac Jones is a Bill Belichick type of guy. Very similar to when he drafted Tom Brady.
I read that Charlie Weiss. I think Charlie Weiss had the big thing on him.
Yeah, he's not athletic. He doesn't have a lot of like that pocket presence.
Right? He's cerebral.
But he's smart. He's got a decent arm. He's like all those things that you want from a Bill Belichick run offense. That's what Mac Jones is. He's 6'3", almost 6'3". He knows Nick Saban, right? They're like best buddies. To me, I just look at it as a good fit. It just makes sense. Why not just bring him in now? Unless Bill Belichick talks to Nick Saban and that's all behind the scenes, and Nick Saban tells him, "Hey, Mac Jones, like he ain't going anywhere. He had a lot of talent around him, and we kind of hit that, and that's why he had a good season." Then maybe that's the reason. But he just seems like the type of guy, middle of the first round, right where the Patriots are drafting, smart, has all the intangibles except for that he doesn't have the athleticism and he doesn't have that pocket presence. Go back to Tom Brady's scouting report. They all said the same thing about him.
Right.
It was almost identical. Exactly what they said about Tom Brady, they said about him. So I just think Mac Jones is the guy that maybe if the Patriots take him, if they pass on him in the first round, then he's gone. They're not going to take him. Then he's going to go. The Patriots are going to go with whoever they want to go with. Yeah, I still think Cam Newton. I still think Cam Newton's the guy that's coming back.
You know what? But if Bill Belichick has me so PTSD, I like everything you just said about Mac Jones. I agree with, and I want to be excited. But the second you get excited about a high draft pick QB, or even a high draft pick in the first round, not only you're not going to get him, he's going to trade out and take some loser out of some D4 college in the second round. And it just sets you up. And then we got to listen to Antifa Boy tell us how great of a genius pick it was. And like how he has all the stats, like all of a sudden he's on combine.
But he's got to call it though. He's got to call that pick.
It's the worst. It's the worst. I
got to say one point about Belichick. If he keeps undervaluing what the importance of the QB position, then I think the game is slipping him by then. Because you were spoiled to have the top quarterback in the history of the NFL. and you could
Did
get
you
away
hear what
with
he
trying
said,
to
John? You were like he's not a Patriots fan. Not we were.
No, no,
you
no.
were because he's a full-blown Mahomes lover.
No,
now.
I'm talking about
Loves the Chiefs. He's
Belichick,
gonna
not
root
you
for the
guys.
Chiefs.
Loves Mahomes.
No, I'm
You
just saying
Chiefs
that
fan.
if he
Take an
puts in a
arrowhead
piece,
up your ass.
you can't take a piece of garbage.
If he stood up right now, we would see his Chiefs logo on his shirt.
I wish.
Yeah, he's got an arrowhead in his shorts.
You guys are just missing the point. The point is that if Belichick brings in a piece of garbage and says we don't need it, I'll just build my defense and we don't need a star quarterback, he's out of his freaking mind.
I think that's.
Do you know who
Belichick
doesn't agree with that
though.
take? Yeah, do you know who doesn't agree with that take? R3. R3 wants Cam Newton back. He loved Cam Newton. He thought he was the perfect fit. Oh, he was like, you guys are wrong.
Then R3 doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
No, he's moved on. By the end of the season, he was bashing him.
No, he was not. R3 is a Cam Newton defender.
There's only one guy that really hated Cam Newton.
Yeah, Mr. Roper.
Mr. Roper. For obvious reasons.
Yeah. But he hated him before he even got to Auburn.
Yeah. So,
but I think Belichick is gonna. I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots led the league in rushing attempts because they like you saw it last year. They were running the ball a little bit more. He wants to run the ball a little bit more. He wants to have a great defense, and you might see that in the offseason. The free agency picks up, maybe the trades.
But if he dumped Gilmore, he's going to dump Gilmore. He's going to have to rebuild some of that defense. He's not going to.
I also heard
until he dumps him. Then
Gilmore's playing for. Yeah, but I also heard he's going to dump J.C. Jackson, because he's a restricted free agent, and if he trades him on whatever the offer sheet he gets, he'll get max value for him, and then we're left with Jason McCourty as our number one cornerback.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Tell me how great that. Oh wait, by the way, we have Joejuan Williams, second round draft pick, who apparently doesn't play. We have Duke Dawson, who they already cut after his rookie deal, or actually
Dante Hightower's coming back though.
Dante Hightower is like the artist formerly known as at this point. I mean, he was in his prime.
The Weeknd? Is he the Weeknd?
Weeknd. Listen, have you heard the song "Blinding Light" on the radio? It's just so freaking catchy. I don't even want. Listen, Azar. That's what I was trying to say. Oh
God! Just don't make me vomit.
So Jarvis and I are very, very big on '80s nostalgia, and that song does have a little nostalgic.
It does
feeling to it. It almost seems like the song came out in the '80s. So
it's the catchiest song in like the last at least the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It's
although
so
that Super Bowl show was
sucked. That sucked.
All right. Before you guys go on your ridiculous tangent, nonsense. Let me go back to the article and just name another player that. Let's
go through the list.
Yeah. So here is, I guess Rex Burkhead is coming off injury and he's going to hit free agency.
See you later. Get out of here.
James White is also, he's saying, is going to
hit free
later.
Agency. See ya. Get out of here.
So here's a name that he thinks is going to be a cap casualty. Giovanni Bernard.
Get out of here.
You talking about Giovanni? Come on.
I'm just telling you. He just said that he's going to be potential cap casualty.
Shady McCoy.
I would rather have Shady McCoy.
2-time Super Bowl champ.
All right, so no Bernard to replace James White. All right, what about Jamison Crowder if the Jets cut him?
I like him.
Who the fuck is that?
I'm in. He's good.
Yeah, you like Jamison Crowder?
Yeah, he's
How about Golden Tate? Golden Tate is a potential cap casualty this year.
Get him out of here.
All right, veto. I see the veto.
I want nonsense. Enough of the nonsense.
All right, this one we talked about. Tight end David Njoku.
I like him.
I like him. He's got talent. He's big. He's physical. Yeah.
What about Zach Ertz? Njoku or Zach Ertz?
I like him too.
No.
I like Zach Ertz too.
At what price?
Well, he's I'm trying to see what he has written down.
Well, Jarvis, you talked about this a couple podcasts ago. I can only imagine what Jarvis is doing right now. So I just got to say, you said this earlier in a couple of podcasts.
Oh, you two clowns. When you guys are together, just these podcasts forever. Look at his face is turned red. Tomato face is back. He's got the tomato face. Big. All right, folks. I'm just gonna go on a monologue right now because me can't breathe.
Hold on. I have a point to make.
Please do before I fall asleep here.
Because Jarvis said something a couple weeks ago.
Shake twice. All right.
Hold on. I got it. He said a couple weeks ago, he goes, there's no free agents available. He's like, there's nothing. Meanwhile, JJ Watt got released. I'm hearing Alshon Jeffrey will be released as well. So there's players that will be released. No, I'm not saying Alshon Jeffrey himself, but I'm saying there's players that get released because of salary cap reasons or whatever. So I think that's where the Patriots have a lot of salary cap room where they can go out and find these guys and like pick up. Like, don't look at the free agent pool when the season ended because there's not really a lot out there. But teams release players, good players, because they don't have salary cap to re-sign these guys, aka JJ Watt, those type of players. So the Patriots, if they go out and really splurge and really sign these free agent defensive guys, offensive line guys. I like Damian Harris. He's a great running back. Now, if they go out and get middle of the road quarterback, smart quarterback, system quarterback, not something that, maybe it is Cam Newton. Unfortunately, maybe it is Cam, but they're going to rely on their defense and they're going to rely on their running game. You're going to see it next year. This is how Belichick wants to win. After Brady won his Super Bowl, Belichick now wants to go into this season and say, look, I'm going to win with a middle-of-the-road quarterback based on my defense and my running game, and I'm going to win a Super Bowl based off of that. He wants to have that Super Bowl like that Brad Johnson, Joe Flacco, Trent Dilfer type Super Bowl. That's what he wants to do. I'm convinced.
You notice
there's
no
way he's bringing in Rodgers. He's not bringing in a superstar quarterback. It's not going to happen. Unless he drafts Young, unless he drafts Mac Jones, that type of quarterback.
All right, that's fair. All right, so we can talk about this for hours. So we're not going to beat this horse.
So I'm a no on Zach Ertz if he's full price.
Okay, and now so Njoku, I think I agree with you, is someone I would probably target. I think he's big and he's physical, and would help the Patriots. But other than that. Those are the names he was throwing out. The only guy that he threw out that I thought was interesting, hopefully,
are there other names on the list?
Defensive tackle Alan Bailey from Atlanta Falcons might be and he thought he would be a good defensive line help.
How was Adrian Claiborne?
Yeah, there's not a lot of great names. How about Anthony Barr from the Vikings?
Yes, all over it, as long as he's not full price.
Well, he said he might be a cap casualty, so I'm not sure what.
Yeah. As long as if he comes in on a 1-year deal, he's that like 3-down linebacker. I mean, he's a little bit older and he's not Levante David, which by the way, I pay full price for. If I'm Belichick, I say fuck you.
I heard his name being thrown around too.
Fuck you. I'm paying him. I would pay him whatever the max deal is for a linebacker and get his ass here long term.
There's an offensive lineman for the Ravens. I can't remember his name.
Azar, don't say Michael Orr.
He's going to be a free agent, and I think
I'm happy I didn't say Kevin Falk instead of James White. I'm just happy I didn't screw that up.
That's true. That's good. Or Shane Vereen. I thought you were going to go Shane Vereen there.
No, I would have said Kevin Falk more than, but I didn't.
Worse. It's even worse.
I didn't say it. So relax.
I'm relaxed.
So
I'm relaxed.
Didn't you see me pee?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
We all saw you pee.
Yeah, thank you. So let's just move on to fantasy, just because we're running over an hour now. The biggest news that came, I think Jarvis touched on it, was the Carson Wentz trade going to Indianapolis. And I told you guys before the podcast, just your thoughts on it from a fantasy perspective. We touched on a lot about Wentz. We went back and forth a little earlier about him, but from a fantasy perspective, how much impact do you think it's going to have on the team? Bringing in someone like Wentz, does it change it? Is he that much of an improvement over Phillip Rivers? Are you going to see a bump up for T.Y. Hilton? Does it change the running back game? Like, what are your thoughts on that from a fantasy?
So everything but the T.Y. Hilton comment. I think T.Y. Hilton's going to be what he was this year, next year. I think Michael Pittman is going to be the big guy that comes on because he was unbelievable last year. Phillip Rivers couldn't throw the ball more than 15 yards to the side. He looked like Cam Newton, like throwing paint grenades.
What about the tight ends? Because Wentz was a big tight end chucker. I don't know if that was a scheme or that's
you got Jack Doyle and they had Ebron. I don't know who they're bringing back. So I mean, you would see how it shapes out.
Don't they have that big 7-footer with the big what's his name? They got this monster, but he's not big physical. He's just tall.
No, they had Trey Burton.
No, it wasn't Trey Burton. There's another guy.
I'm just saying they had Trey Burton and Jack Doyle. And if there's a third one, it doesn't come to my mind. But I like Wentz on the Colts because of Frank Reich, because Frank Reich made him the MVP candidate that he was the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl.
Mo Alley Cox is the guy.
Oh, Mo Alley Cox. That's yeah. I would have not remembered that name.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, so look at this. The tight ends had value last year with Rivers, same way that Gates and Hunter Henry did, and I think Wentz is a good comparison to like peak Rivers. So you'll get, like Rivers always had one good wide receiver. Keenan Allen came on with Rivers, and you'll get the same thing. It won't be T.Y. Hilton, but it'll be either Michael Pittman or maybe Campbell. But I think Pittman they have this really high ceiling for. But with Wentz, with Reich, he's going to look like he did 3 years ago with Philly. I'm all about it. I think Wentz gets his confidence back. I think he gets his rhythm back. I think he's as good as what we saw with Frank Reich the first time. And I think he was just garbage in Philly because Philly was garbage, not because Wentz was garbage. I think Wentz is legit.
Wow, that's a bold prediction.
I would agree. I think the biggest factor with Carson Wentz, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's got a lot of talent. That's the reason why he was the number 2 overall pick, and he performed well in Philadelphia at times. I just think the organization and the team around him was just a mess.
Yep.
He's back with Frank Reich. Frank Reich is the coach of the Colts. He was the offensive coordinator with Philadelphia his last great season. I think teaming up with him, I think you're going to see some upside with it, because the Colts are kind of that up and coming team. They have a great offensive line. They have Jonathan Taylor, who's really good.
Booyah!
Yeah. I know he's your guy, Jarvis. He's a good up and coming running back they're gonna rely on pretty heavily. Phillip Rivers just couldn't throw the ball. There's a reason why he retired. He just didn't have that zip. He was noodle arm Rivers. He just got to the point he just couldn't throw the ball anymore. You bring in Carson Wentz. T.Y. Hilton's a pretty good receiver. It's not like they have no weapons at all on that team. Good offensive line, up and coming running back in Jonathan Taylor. I think Wentz is going to have a good year. I think people are going to be surprised with the production that Carson Wentz has.
Does he finish in the top 10? What's your bold prediction? Early, but what's your bold prediction?
Based on top 10, I think it's going to be close. I think he's going to be
he'll be like 11, 10, 9, 10, 11.
He'll be right there. 9 or 10. Yeah, I agree. He'll be right there.
All right, I'll give you guys a stretch. Top 12?
Yes.
In the top 12?
Yes.
So who has a better season right now if you were drafting? Matt Stafford with the Rams and the offensive genius of Sean McVay?
No, I'd take Wentz. Wentz has the best offensive line in football.
I'm going to say Wentz as well. Yep.
Yeah, I take Wentz all day.
Wow. So what round would you guys start thinking about him?
7 or 8.
Dezon's taking notes. He's
recording
these notes for the next draft.
You guys, look at, as I said before, people listening to this, they're listening to fantasy advice.
What's the situation?
It's not meant to be some secret.
Carson Wentz isn't a guy that I'm going to go into the draft and say he's my starting quarterback. I'm not going to take him. He would be my like the first quarterback taken as a backup.
Or
he's the guy that I would
exactly.
take.
I would say he is the guy that you target if you're drafting and you go, all right, I really wanted, Brady, Wilson, Watson, somebody that you're going to get around 3, 4, 5-ish. And you're like, all right, I'm going to let these guys slide. And all of a sudden they get grabbed up early and you go, oh crap, I need someone. And now you're down in that, you're going to take the best player available. So you go a couple of rounds, but Wentz will be a great, okay, I can shift my draft strategy. I wanted a quarterback rounds 3, 4, or 5. They're a great tight end. I can get, a great tight end instead and still get Wentz a round or 2 later. That's where Wentz is going to come into play. He's going to be that quarterback that can come in 50 points under the top 5 or 10 scores. He'll come in 50 points under, but that 50 points extrapolated over the season isn't that.
So he's like a Matt Ryan.
Yeah, there you go. He's Matt Ryan 2.0 this year.
Okay. All right. So he's not someone you guys are targeting as a starter for your team. You don't want him.
No,
unless your
starter gets taken.
Yeah.
Too much of a risk. Too much of a risk. I'm not going to go into that. This is I call this the Jake Cutler, fool's gold. Right. There was a time where I said, "Oh, Jake, he's got all this weapons around him. It's Jake Cutler." He sucked.
Always.
So it's the same thing with Carson Wentz. He's a talented guy in a new system with Frank Reich. Everything looks great.
I would actually argue
am I
that
gonna risk
he's
taking him
not
first?
in a new system. He's going back to a familiar system.
No, that's true. Yeah, right. He's going back to a familiar, but he's not a guy that I'm gonna risk taking as my starting quarterback going to like. I wouldn't feel comfortable. Like if I went to the season and said, "Oh yeah, Carson Wentz is my quarterback," like I'm not gonna like that. As my backup, then I would say, okay, maybe we got something there. He could be somebody that could be decent this year, and then you got that trade value.
So the takeaway is the two biggest moves so far between Stafford and Wentz, from fantasy perspective, they're kind of like,
they're negligible.
Yeah,
Wentz has the biggest upside out of all of them.
It's interesting. Okay,
Goff in Detroit, Stafford in LA, Wentz in Indianapolis. I take Wentz in Indianapolis over those three.
Goff in Detroit is a disaster.
And it sounds like they're trying to move away from Goff. I've heard all kinds of things of Detroit actually trading him out and getting somebody else. So it should be interesting. But I don't know how true that is. But that's it. It's kind of like it's interesting. It's been a few weeks of the off season, and there's been name changes, but none of them really impacted fantasy. I did hear, again, there's all kinds of rumors right now. If you listen to morning shows, I have a lot of drive time taking my daughter to practice, and I listen to some of the national shows that are on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And it's interesting. CMC's name was thrown around that Carolina might move him to grab some draft capital. Oh, I didn't know for Deshaun Watson. It was more for draft capital. That'll be interesting.
I heard it was for Deshaun Watson. They wanted to move CMC for Watson.
Wow.
That's what I heard.
CMC, leaving Carolina. That would be.
I heard CMC crazy. For Watson, and that's when I went down that rabbit hole when I saw that the rumor to the Bears. It was Watson to the Bears for Trubisky, Roquan Smith, and like 2 first-round picks or something, which I thought was a great trade for Houston because I think Roquan Smith is one of the best linebackers in the league. He was fun in Georgia when you weren't watching Sony Michel. But I saw in that same, vetting of that rumor, I came across the Panthers offering CMC plus for Watson.
Let me ask you, if CMC by some rare, and I'd have a full erection if this did occur. I just won't lie to you right now.
If he came to the Patriots
and they brought Cam Newton back because they worked together. CMC and Cam Newton reunited.
No, it doesn't.
What's the cost?
I like Damian Harris.
What's the cost?
Because Belichick.
I love Damian Harris. What's the cost? Is Belichick going to pay a lot of money for CMC? It's not. No way.
Right.
But he loves those white boy projects. You know that.
Yeah, he's going to convert him into a slot receiver.
Hey, he plays slot sometimes.
I know. I won a championship with him, Azar. Did you?
No.
I think Damian Harris is going to be the guy.
I like Damian Harris. Watching him was refreshing. It was like that year that Corey Dillon was good for us once. You know what I mean? Like we haven't had a
say whatever you want. He's no CMC.
No,
they're gonna resign Joe. They're gonna resign Joe Tooney.
I don't think so.
Good offensive lineman. You don't think they're gonna resign? I think they are. I think Joe Tooney has already come out and said, "I would love to come back for the Patriots."
Yeah, I think he's for higher money than the franchise tag.
I don't know. I think he's gonna accept what he's valued at. I don't think he's gonna be like the highest paid.
He's one of the top linemen. He is going to be one of the. He's one of the highest.
He's great.
Yeah, but it's all relevant to the free agent market. I think he's one of the highest free agent guards out there.
But I think Belichick's willing to pay big money for those.
Yeah, but he already paid Shaq Mason and Marcus Cannon, and now Joe Tooney on the franchise tag, and he's got Isaiah Wynn on a first-round pick deal, and he's got David Andrews on a deal. Like, you need younger guys coming in, not on full-term.
I think he likes Joe Tooney. I think he's like a David Andrews. Those two guys are going to anchor the offensive line. They're going to bring in another offensive lineman. They're both free agents. They're both free agents. He's going to sign them both. They got money. They got money.
They have $60 million. and you're
They
going to
got
spend
money.
you're going to spend 20 of that on a quarterback.
The floor salary cap just got raised to 180 million. They're gonna spend it.
It was 180 last year. It's held the same.
Yeah.
It didn't get
No,
raised.
I think it went up. I think it went up a little bit.
It's the same. It's 180, and they have to sign back. There's like 7 players on defense. There's a bunch. There's a third of the offensive line needs to get re-signed.
I think the floor
quarterback
went up. Not that it matters, right? Because it's like everybody's spending the floor anyway.
It doesn't matter
it's
what
more
it
about
is.
the
They
cap.
have $60 million.
It went up $5 million.
It went up $5 million. It went up a little bit, but they're gonna spend.
That's John's defense. Well, it went up a little bit. At least it went up. So,
No, I knew it went up, but it didn't. But it doesn't matter about the floor. It's
Lawrence Guy, Adam Butler.
Like, what can they spend the most at?
Joe Tooney, David Andrews, and then you got all the defensive backs, right? You got Gilmore coming up that you got to figure out with. You got J.C. Jackson coming up on a restricted deal, and you're gonna have to match him. And people are paying corners crazy money. You are not going to sign these people if you want to go out and then also get the list of free agents that Azar just shared, or if you want to go out and get Levante David, or you want to go trade for.
But here's the caveat, though. Here's the caveat: the Patriots are in a position to pay guys because they have that money. There's a lot of teams that are over the cap.
Yeah,
I know
it's not that.
It doesn't sound a lot, but compared to the other teams, there's teams that are over the cap. They're over the cap already. That they need to cut players. That's what Houston did when they cut JJ Watt. So they're
how many free agents are lining up to run to Jacksonville? How many free agents are lining up to run to Jacksonville?
Well, you know what? Free agents are lining up to play for Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
Where were they last year? Where are they?
They didn't have a cap. They didn't have money. They didn't have money to spend.
They also don't have Tom Brady to sell.
But people will come to the Patriots if they believe in the system and they believe in Belichick.
The system is Tom Brady, is what the fear is. I am at this point watching last season. I believe the system was more based on Tom Brady's input. Belichick is going to continue to lose his credibility.
If an offensive lineman who's a free agent, right? They re-sign. Say they re-sign.
This is too much. Belichick cannot
say they
coach
re-sign
everything.
Tooney and Andrews, right? And they have David. They have. Who the
Come on,
the
Junior, get it up.
The running back.
Damian Harris.
Damian Harris. I kept saying David. Damian Harris. If an offensive lineman comes in as a free agent and says, wow, they're going to be a run-first offense, and I can go in there and really block it. They already have a good offensive lineman as well.
How about they're going to say, oh, my God, Cam Newton's the quarterback, and I need to have to block like, who would you say? Like, Levante? Like, any of these guys?
What if they bring in Garoppolo?
I'm great. He's $25 million. So now, what are you going to have? You're going to have $35 million to spend on 15 starters. You got no.
I'm just saying, players don't really. Sometimes
Jennings,
don't care about winning.
Listen, if sometimes Jennings, Uche, and Winovich were dominant and coming on.
Sometimes players don't care about winning. They care about looking good. If they go in and they're an offensive line where they are already good and they can come in and they have a great running game.
Year? You try to look good in freelance, you get your ass sent to Cleveland. Ask Jamie Collins.
Look, David Andrews and Joe Tooney, they had a good running game last year. They're like one of the top free agent offensive linemen this year.
You don't think somebody's going to, not by the Patriots. Somebody's going to throw a boatload of money.
Maybe not. But if they want to get the hometown discount and stay with the Patriots,
that doesn't happen anymore. I'm telling you, the whole hometown discount thing was more because of Brady than it is because of Belichick. And I believe that now after. You know what? And I'm open to being wrong because that's just what normal people are. You are open to being wrong because
except for Azar. You're open to being wrong. Azar's never wrong.
Never wrong.
He never wants to admit that he's wrong.
If Belichick can pull off this Antifa boy level turnaround that he touts is in the works, then I will gladly eat my shoes. But I
want to see that happen. I want to see you actually literally eat your shoes.
I will do it. I don't just like you want to go up against me with buffalo wings. Azar, where's that happening, by the way?
Yeah, that's right. We've been teasing that for a long time.
What do you want me to do?
Azar, stop the COVID. What are you doing?
Seriously, call Regeneron and stop this shit.
Yeah, stop me.
I don't see these free
agents. It's your
agents.
fault, Azar. It's your fault this hasn't happened.
We're trying to
Seriously.
keep Antifa boy alive. That's
Listen,
what we're
I don't
doing
see
right
the
now.
free agents flocking to New England. I don't see Belichick paying all this money. $60 million is not going to go very far when you're spending $2 million, $3 million on Matthew freaking
Listen,
Slater.
What did Cam Newton
Don't say
say
any-
about Belichick the
Oh.
other day? What did he say about it? He said he's dope as shit. That's what he said. He said, "What do you think about Belichick?" He said, "He's dope as shit."
Okay.
He better say that because he's begging for a job.
All right, I'm gonna rein it in now because we've run a while here, and Meat just wrapped it up with the quote of the day.
He's
He's
dope
he's-
as shit.
He's
Dope.
quoting Cam Newton.
He's dope.
You're a dope
All
as
right.
shit.
That's like
So-
Cam Newton's words. He said
And
he's dope.
So Big Meat gave us his closing thoughts. Cam Newton thinks Belichick is dope as shit. All right. All right, boys. I have
People
nothing.
will want to
thoughts.
come to the Patriots because of that.
Yeah.
No
Just
way.
because of that.
We'll be debating this all night. But again, another week, more stuff will come out. So next week we'll have some more. I bet some more little clarity on what's going
I
on.
hope so, because what Sotorakis just sold me is a terrible outlook on next season.
Look, I don't have high hopes.
Well,
I'll
thank
be
God
honest.
you're a
I don't
Bucs
have
fan.
high hopes. I
Thank God
don't.
you're a Bucs fan.
And I've said it all along. Cam Newton's
Thank you,
coming
Azar.
back, guys.
Coming
Cam
from an
Newton-
original Bucks fan, I
Listen,
take that as a compliment.
Cam Newton is your 2021 Patriots quarterback.
And you have a jersey
Wow.
with
Mark it
Tooney
down.
on the back of it. That's your big free agent, Joe fucking Tooney. Great.
He's a good
That's a
offensive
bold prediction.
lineman.
Meat's calling it. All right. He hasn't been wrong for the Super
Joe
Bowl.
Tooney and David Andrews coming
All right.
back from the Patriots.
So everybody that's going to listen to this
At the
podcast.
expense of the
They will
entire
lead the
defense
league. They will lead the league in rushing attempts. You'll see
and
it.
lose every game by 20.
All right. Well, Meat said it. Cam Newton's coming back. So if you're listening to this
Ugh.
podcast, drive your car off the road now. Next season.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
Tiger, there's a nice spot next to Tiger Woods picked out.
Yeah. And that note, we'll definitely have to wrap it up. So, all right, folks. As usual, this was another delightful podcast. With
What a
very colorful-
debacle.
It was, as always, when you two are together. Apple, look, Big Meat's turning red again.
We're
Apple
going
Podcasts.
3 hours. We're going 3 hours, Azar.
The whiskey's flowing. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up right there, boys. Until next week, we'll save it for next week.
That sounds good. That's all. Hey, Jarvis, watch WandaVision, will you?
I did. It was 1937. WonkaVision came out on my TV. It was there. I saw it. With Gene Wilder was fantastic.
I'm gonna go to
and
Blockbuster and go get the Pest. I heard it's a great movie.
You
I
won't
wonder
be
if it's on
disappointed.
Paramount.
You won't be
Paramount-
disappointed.
Paramount shows replays all the great movies. I wonder if Pest is on it.
Oh, the Pest. It is a cult classic underground.
All right, kill it now before we kill ourselves.
Terrible.
Terrible.
Good night, folks.